We'll call this meeting in order. Thank you for showing up. This is the Board of Health for September 11th, 2025 in the venue. Charbel?
Yeah.
Malika?
Malika.
You're here?
I'm here.
Okay. Guys, we're here. That's all we have at the moment. Oh, by the way, I'll just make a quick announcement. If anybody's interested in joining the Board of Health, we do have at least one seat, if not two seats open. We've heard that somebody's applied for one of them, but that has not gone through yet. So please put your names in. Item number 2 is roll call. We just did that. Item number 3 is accept the meeting minutes of the August meeting. Did you get them?
No.
I emailed them to everybody.
You didn't. I did read them. I read the copy that you had, so they're very. Did you read them? That's they're very quick.
Oh.
And no issues.
No.
Any comments or questions? No? Sure. No? Can I have a motion, please? Approve? Okay. Second? All those in favor of approving? Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, item number 4 is introduction of TriEpic with Jason Osborne. He's the chair of TriEpic, and I talked to him at some length a couple of weeks ago. Asked him to come here just to give us an update on what TriEpic is, what we're doing, what our role could be in it, since we're all new on this. And I've had some brief contact with TriEpic several years ago, but until I talked to him, I didn't know where things stood recently. So, you have the floor.
So my name is Jason Osborne. I'm the emergency manager up at UMass Harrington. Preparedness. I worked with the board, a little bit of the Board of Health. At the beginning of COVID, I was appointed at this position on March 9th of 2020. And that gives you any idea. I recently took over back in January as chair of TriEpic. And TriEpic is a regional emergency planning committee. And we meet every other month on the second Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning at the hospital in our conference rooms. And the goal for that and the reason for TriEpic, it's about 9 towns right now, and we're looking at adding a 10th town. But it started with Southbridge, Charlton, and Sturbridge, if I remember correctly. As 3 towns. That was where the Tri came in. And I know through Massachusetts legislature, every town has to be a part of a regional emergency planning committee or have their own local emergency planning committee, also known as an LEPC or an REPC. And the goal behind that initially was involving hazmat type stuff that may have come through town, or to help support the hospitals with this. Some of the history behind that is certainly after 9/11 is when this started to kind of come about. It was about 2010, 2011, kind of after the Ebola scare, that the TriEpic group really came together and with the towns and says, okay, we need to look at certain types of things that we may need in the future, such as PPE. The armory that you guys have was initially slated as a specialty influenza or an ISCU, influenza overflow for the hospital. It was set up to be a hospital that we could have flu patients. When COVID came in, unfortunately, that posed some risks and some challenges, and there were some things that we didn't quite expect. But the forethought of that and the partitions that they had purchased, along with some of the other PPE and equipment, allowed us to run the first mass vaccination center here in Southbridge in the state of Massachusetts. There will be some people that will contend that, but we were actually the first that was set up and fully functional, and we did over 55,000 doses at the Armory of vaccine over the little less than a year. I think it was about almost a year that we were there, and then transitioned to a smaller portion at the hospital. So the TriEpic group is really geared towards networking with local officials from different towns, and really coming together to decide which direction it's going to go. And as recently taking over as chair, because we've lost some of the original leadership, I've really tried to focus it into an all hazards planning committee. So whether it be the next pandemic or whether it be something major happens, and how are we going to respond? We talk about this. I've started doing tabletops, 20-minute tabletops at each of the meetings, and it really starts to network and bring things together. Because when we have a major event, knowing someone or being a familiar face goes a long way when trying to put all this stuff together. And Southbridge was a very big part of our response to COVID. So that being said, our next meeting is October 14th at 8:30 in the morning in conference rooms 1 and 2 at the hospital, 100 South Street, which anyone is welcome to attend. We would, I guess, from what I'm understanding, I first started being involved with TRIAPIC about 2018 when I started with the hospital. Southbridge Board of Health, our representative, was on that committee for some time and then kind of lost its way throughout in COVID and stuff to that extent. But we would love to have you back as that. Also, to note, on the 25th of October at 8:30 in the morning, we're going to be doing a drill that's being facilitated through the HMAP, which is the Hazardous Materials Emergency Planning Grant, which we're going to be using Southbridge DPW. We're supposed to use Sturbridge, but the site location. But it's going to simulate a pipeline disruption with a hazardous materials incident. It's going to meet the hospital's requirements for a drill. We're going to have patients come into the hospital. We'll be setting up our mask and decontamination tent. So if anybody would like to observe, feel free to, Gus has my contact information. Feel free to reach out. We would love to have you as an observer. We'd love to get your input, stuff to that extent. So, because it's a partnership between not only the hospital but the region and the town that we serve. So right now we have, like I said, 9 towns, which are most of our surrounding towns. Don't have to name them all, but as far out as Douglas. And Webster kind of backed out at some point. They're going to be hopefully coming back to the table at some point soon as well. So as we move forward, we're really trying to revamp, and we would again love to have you guys there and have your input. So,
Thank you.
Great, thank you. I was curious, do you know of anything that we as a board would, what we would be, how would we be involved in TRIAPIC as a board? And how do you see anything that like you talked about that training, that tabletop exercise, the exercises there being good for Harrington? How would that help the town?
Well, the mini exercises, the tabletops that we do are regionally based. So, Charlton will have a say, depending on, they usually have their town manager, their fire department chief. Each town sends this, the police department in Sturbridge, and we just talk about, I think the last one we did, what did we?
I wasn't there.
Sorry, yeah. Off the top of my head, it's been a very busy week.
One email you sent about an earthquake.
Yes, I think we did. Yeah, we did a potential earthquake. Given the amount of seismic activity and stuff like that, and it really just gets people talking. A couple people said, "Well, I didn't know that this capability was over here, or that animal sheltering, could do this." And it's really just that, again, that networking and stuff like that, where you specifically could be a valued asset. There might be things that we're missing that you could have input on. And be able to provide that, and again, putting faces with names and really coming together as a community and as a group really helps us not only locally but regionally as well.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
What was that date again?
for the exercise, it's going to be October 25th. It's a Saturday, starting at about 8:30 in the morning. And you're more than welcome to observe at either place, as Southbridge DPW or the hospital itself.
Okay.
And you can kind of go in between if you'd like to.
Okay.
And for the meeting, you don't have to register with you? We can show?
You can
Myself,
just show
inspector, or
up.
any of
What
the
we'll
team?
do is typically when somebody shows up, we have a sign in with an
Yeah,
email.
yeah.
I add you to the email
Okay.
Distribution list.
Yeah, so I'm
Gus is already
definitely
on it.
board. I think it's
Yeah, I'm
paramount that we reestablish relationships.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
move forward with that. That'll be great.
Yeah. in my experience over the last 30 years in healthcare, and EMS, building those relationships goes a long way when it comes to when we have an event. So, yes, ma'am.
Maureen?
You mentioned animal sheltering, so I want to know if you're working with CM Dark.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
they are a member of
Good.
our committee who is
Excellent.
very active.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Thank you. So you may see me sometime.
Excellent.
'Cause I
Well,
work
she's
with
also
CM Dark.
chair of our conservation commission.
Okay,
Do
absolutely.
you see a role for conservation being involved in it, or other town bodies for that matter?
Honestly, I see a role for just about everything. It may not be immediate right here, but eventually, again, down the road, as we start to network together and and build this group back up to kind of what it used to be pre-COVID, there was regular, we had regular attendance of 30, 40 people.
Yeah, I remember some of those meetings.
Obviously, COVID put a damper on that. We're starting to build that back up again. And again, the more people that we have, the more input that we have, the greater we are as a team.
Okay.
So.
Very good.
Anybody else have any questions? Great.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank
I have to
you.
go pick up my kids, so
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna have to
Jason, for
scoot out.
coming.
Actually, I'll add you guys. So
Great.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Jason.
Take care.
Jason.
I apologize. I didn't bring any card, but I will add you both to the roster, and then you'll have my contact information.
We'll be there.
Good.
Excellent. Thank you.
We'll look that up on that day.
Good. And I know I plan on attending that meeting too, so the next one.
Okay.
And the exercise. Anyway, so next item is Dan's updates.
Okay, I'd like to, thank you, Chair. I'd like to start with infectious diseases, some arbovirus information. As you look through the list, the number of cases and the diseases, what does come out is the uptick in cases of COVID.
Yeah.
Has increased last month. We had 3 cases, and now we're at 25.
Is
This-
that new variant? Or the old one?
Yeah, it's associated with that, but there's been widespread increases, and that's just, it's not just geographically centered around New England, but throughout the country pretty much. We're seeing an increase. So this is something that certainly the health department will be following and monitoring, and we're really focused on clusters. Okay, that do come out, and certainly outbreaks.
So of these 25, are they in clusters at this
No,
point?
that
They're
is
individuals?
They're individuals. Okay.
So I'm
But that can
sorry,
change.
Did you say in Southbridge or?
Just this is
This is
Southbridge. Yep,
Okay.
Southbridge. But in recognition that the incidence of COVID has risen in the last month and a half. If you tune into any type of media outlet, they do touch on it. Nothing like before, but could this be the start of another surge that we have through the winter, possibly?
We've been
That's
seeing 2 or 3
that's
a year at
again
this point.
hypothetically we're talking. So just something that the Board of Health and the Health Department should be monitoring.
Right.
And we'll certainly stay on top of it with our public health nurse. Okay.
Okay. Anything else about the, you mentioned this dengue fever, even though it's revoked. Any comments on that?
Well, these ones are obviously diseases that we don't see.
I know.
And what they do come about in the summer months because of the travel.
Right.
And usually travel outside of the continental United States, where these type of diseases, similar to like Cryptosporidium and Sporidius right there, are endemic. There's many cases. Fortunately, here we don't have that level of activity and incidence of these diseases. So they're usually isolated. The commonality of these diseases is associated with travel.
Right.
Okay.
And those would be crypto, dengue.
Even the
hepatitis
Vibrio.
C.
And now that one, as you pointed out, that is where it doesn't specify that it's cholera, because that's just the genus.
Right.
Underneath the genus is like 70 to close to different Vibrios.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you can't say that it's that specific species.
Okay.
All right. So again, it's suspect. It's not confirmed. If it is in the cholera realm, then it'll be identified next time. Okay.
As far as the TB cases, they are listed as suspect.
They're
at this
continuing.
point,
Yeah,
but-
they stay on for a while.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause
Yeah.
that takes a long time to heal.
It really takes a long time, so it's identified.
So those are being permanently tracked, and
Yes,
you guys are,
yes.
You guys can identify.
Yes,
them, too. I
I
don't
can.
expect you to
Yeah.
mention names, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. But they are.
Okay.
There's a lot of emphasis on tuberculosis.
Yeah, I know.
And it entails a lot of epidemiological work and
Yeah.
nurse work.
Right.
So those ones,
Do we have a good fallback for somebody? Who is our nurse? Are we still using the same?
yes,
one?
we are still using the same nurse.
What's her name?
Okay? Well, before I tell you her name, what you're getting at is certainly is that we have someone back up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I would be the backup, and what happens in the world of epidemiology and contact tracing
Right.
things is Cheryl, our nurse,
Cheryl.
okay, is if she's not available, the state will take on her, an epidemiologist.
Okay.
That happens with smaller towns.
Right.
To answer your first question,
Right.
is, and I assume that's what you're really getting at,
Yes.
is in smaller towns and communities that don't have the availability to hire public health nurse, whether it's regional or individual, then the state will take on cases, even if they have a lot of different types of diseases.
Sure.
They're obligated to do that. Now, obviously, they count on municipalities and towns that have the ability to do that work because it does necessitate a lot of hours, especially with tuberculosis.
Right.
You know, things like that, all of that tracking is weeks, and there's just so many hours put into it. And invariably, a town or the state, just to do that tracking, you could be for let's just say quote unquote hours of work, $4,000 to $5,000 each tuberculosis case
I can
for all the
believe that.
tracking and everything associated with it, and it could be it could be higher. So the fact is, we always have that support. I'm trained also to do Maven work. Okay, I could do the working with these types of diseases in order to satisfy the requirements of the state, the
Right.
tracking of them.
Okay.
But we do have public health nurse. She's great. She gives us these monthly reports. Okay, and what it is, think of this, is if something very different or something high risk
Yep.
or is a big issue, she gets hold of us
Okay.
immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, so to confirm that is being taken care of. But she's got a lot of work. She does not only us and other towns.
Yep.
And it's really dependent on the level and types of diseases.
Sure.
You know, and when the frequency just adds, like for the COVID, let's say,
Right. Right.
you know, this now may warrant many more hours just to do that trace back investigations.
Right.
So it's really, that's what it is. So
Are
we have a good
isolating
grip on
the
it.
cases? Are we isolating any of these cases?
No.
For TB or COVID or
Oh,
anything?
yes, for
TB,
TB,
yes.
yes. For COVID, there are just guidelines,
Okay.
okay? There's nothing set in stone. These are more recommendations at this point,
Okay.
and you know, and from an advisory level, but it's not required.
Okay.
But we still here in town, I follow the guidelines that were set forth associated with that, and I think it would just be prudent just to continue that.
Okay.
And Cheryl feels the same way. Then that's what we have. Now, in association with that, we have the arboviruses, West Nile virus.
Right.
Risk levels have changed due to positive human cases and positive samples of mosquitoes.
In town or?
No, not in our town. Close. We have Hampden County, one individual that tested positive.
Mhm.
One individual in Middlesex County And the positive mosquito samples were localized in Brookline, Boston, New Bedford, et cetera, that area, geographic area. So when obviously there's more cases, when there's more samples that are positive, the risk levels in those areas turn to high.
Right.
And those areas are Middlesex and Norfolk counties. And this is, similarities have been pretty much the same for year and year.
Right, yeah,
It's really like those counties have been the hotspots.
yeah.
For us, you know,
Yeah.
a lot more activity there. So that's what I have to report, and which invariably is another thing that we have to keep an eye on.
Right.
These mosquito season, we're not out of it yet. Okay. Obviously, weather dependent and other variables.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Good? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good. Anything else you have? Anything else, Dan?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'll conclude with that.
How about what?
Nothing at this point. No updates. Cases are just changing rapidly. We are removing some, we're adding some, and we are going to court. But there is nothing that I'd like to report to the board at this time. Perhaps next month, and give you an update on the status of other levels.
Okay.
Okay.
At some point, it might be a good idea to sit down with Rob, and I don't know if that would be necessary, to get an update on some of the legal aspects of it.
As far for just getting an understanding.
Well, to some degree, getting an understanding where some of the cases stand. I mean,
Well,
that would have to be executive session.
That would, as I indicated, there's limitations as where we can discuss the level of the cases at this
Yeah.
point,
Well,
something
executive
that
session.
we've discussed. And again, especially when it's in court and it's at that legal side.
Yeah, I know.
But I could talk to him if he could give you an understanding of some of the processes and some of the levels they are. What I can give you is some cases are just slowed down by a lot of legal challenges,
I know.
like I said.
They have been for a long time.
Things obviously within the court system have to be done accordingly. And it has slowed down a number of our cases that are there. Now, what I can tell you is that we've added some new cases and we've removed some with our attorney, but certainly there's ones on the horizons that we may add more. So
'Cause
it's very fluid.
Okay, so if there's some of those cases that are possibly coming down the pike, I think it might be a good idea to do site visits.
Oh,
So we can see them, because I know we
No,
did that in the
oh,
previous
with-
board.
Meaning like site visits like we
Yeah,
did
so we
before
can
with the
see
board?
what's going
Oh,
on,
sure,
what needs
sure.
to be
Yeah,
done.
we could renew something like that if the board was inclined.
Yes.
I think that proved to be beneficial.
I think so.
I think it did.
Yeah, I understand.
And it certainly fostered a lot of interest and
Yep.
input that ultimately was conducive to this whole process of trying to get compliance,
Mhm.
you
So,
know?
so which
well,
can you tell us which properties have been added to the list?
I can't at this point. I don't have that list fully set. That is something that I can share next time.
Okay, how about the ones taken off?
What's
How
that?
about the ones taken off?
The ones that
The
were
ones taken off.
taken off? No, again, at this point, I would like to just focus on giving information with the diseases. Okay?
Any questions? Okay. Okay. Item number 6, Chair and Members Forum. Do you have any comments or questions or observations or announcements that you have? No? You?
No, I don't know.
I do, Maritza did pass on an email, because it didn't end up on the agenda. So she wanted me to read this. There'll be a household hazardous waste event on Saturday, September 27th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the DPW. See the website for specific details. Leaf and yard waste dumpsters will be closed for the season at the DPW at 4 p.m. on Saturday, October 4th. Municipal carb leaf and yard waste pickup begins Monday, October 6th through November 15th. Bag it, can it, or bundle it. And don't put it in plastic, put it in paper. November is the next opportunity to opt out of the municipal curbside program. And I know I'm gonna be talking to Moritz about that, more details with that issue, because there's a bunch of issues going on there. Any questions, contact 508-764-5354. That goes to Maritza, if you have any questions or issues. And I think there's one more thing I wanted to specifically mention. Oh, and also we got that email about the open space plan. I think I'll throw that on the next agenda. So if it's on the website, so if you guys wouldn't mind taking a look at it and having any questions or comments or thoughts on it, Peg and Katie downstairs are looking for a response to it from various other boards and specifically put it to us. So,
Mm-hmm.
So if you
I
could
read
take-
it a little bit.
okay. Any comments from you guys?
Oh,
No, okay. Next meeting date is Thursday, October 9th. Does that work for you? I know we've got it at 6. Would you mind, do you have any objection to switching to 6:30?
no,
Oh,
Could we possibly change the date of that?
to what?
So, later in the month?
What do you think?
Third week?
Should be.
Okay, so that would be, you're talking the 16th? That's the third
Can you go to the
Thursday.
next one?
23rd?
23rd?
That would probably be better.
That would be helpful.
I could do that. Can you? Yeah. You can?
yeah.
Okay.
So, as far as the time frame, it's completely up to everyone, but I had, there was a lot of traffic. I didn't plan well.
That's okay.
So, but,
It's always
I-
better to have a little more leeway, so I can understand
Yeah.
that.
Let's do,
You get off work at 5?
I get off at work different times.
It does, okay, I can understand that.
so stay with 6?
We can stay, I'll just plan better.
It doesn't matter to you?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
plan better.
If you want to do 6, we can do 6. I'm fine with that either way. I live right up the street and I work from home, so I'm flexible.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't mind keeping it at 6.
Okay, let's say 6 then. Okay, if you have any issues you want to be put on the agenda, contact Patty.
I'll send out an email before I post it. Actually, yeah, I'll send out an email before I post it,
Okay,
along with the minutes.
right. Maybe we should start having a meeting like a week before the meeting or a few days before the meeting before we post it. So we can just kind of iron out, make sure that we're not forgetting things, like this open space thing. That things didn't get lost in transition.
That
somewhere
didn't
like
get
that.
lost in transition.
I don't know what happened, but didn't go to my email. So anyway, motion to
Is
adjourn?
that the, open park thing?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Open space plan is on the website.
Yeah, I
so-
got it, the email for that. I
Right.
just didn't know if that was the same thing. I was talking about.
No,
Okay.
no. Okay, any, a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Is there a second? All in favor? We are adjourned at 6:40.